Hey everyone, this is Carlo Larasso from Secrets of Home Theater and Hi-Fi, and thanks for joining us for this video. Today we got something a little different. What we have is we're going to be discussing the newly released CTA RP22 Immersive Audio Design Recommended Practices that just came out. It's a pretty comprehensive, it's not pretty, it's very comprehensive guidelines for what a really, really awesome home theater and listening space could hope to be if done correctly. And joining me to discuss this in detail is Walt Zerbe, the Senior Director of Tech and Standards for CEDIA. Hey, Walt, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you.
No problem, man. Thanks for being here. And Erik Wiederholtz, for the Chief Technical Officer and bon vivant of Per Listen Audio.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Good to be here.
Thanks, Erik. Thanks, man. So yeah, I know we've kind of. I remember being at CEDIA when these. I know, Walt, you're saying they're not exactly what you'd call like standards, but these I guess comprehensive recommendations were released, and I mean. It was a big to do. I mean, a lot of people were talking about it, and a lot of people were excited about it. So yeah. I guess, you know, just from a layman's standpoint, which is where I'm coming from, I guess in a nutshell, what exactly do these spell out? If I can, you know, ask that super basic question.
I'd like to give everybody just very high level context of who created this and why it was created. Mm-hmm. So this was created by a joint standards group called R10. Very, very, very sexy name there. And that group's job is to focus on the installation of technology. Mm-hmm. R10's been around for about 12 years. It was formed between CEDIA and the CTA, so it's a joint group. Okay. But it's run, and the CTA is the Consumer Technology Association.
Right.
And it's run by CEDIA. Both CEDIA and the CTA are ANSI accredited standards development are developers. Mm-hmm. So it's important to know that this was done underneath the ANSI process. There's over 3,000 volunteer hours in this document. So it took over 3 years to do.
Wow.
People that made it up were integrators, manufacturers, calibrators, acousticians, and protocol people such as Dolby and Ubiquiti/DTS. As well as content creators. So we had Skywalker on here as well, an engineer from there. So we wanted to have a really, really well-rounded group of people to come together that specialize in small room acoustics, because that's very different than commercial large room acoustics. Yeah. It's way harder, believe it or not. So if anyone's surprised by me saying that, commercial cinema is easier to do than small rooms. They're wicked hard.
So these practices are focused specifically on smaller room acoustics. So our smaller rooms.
Yeah, when we say smaller rooms, it's like under 10,000 square feet or something like that. I mean, it's still going to be a big room, but it's not.
Right.
That's considered like a small room.
But it can
apply to smaller rooms too. I mean, it's kind of been designed to be universal, and of course, acoustics, as Walt mentioned, even the smaller room, which may be more of a typical customer, or even more difficult. So these are real hard problems to solve.
Okay, so it can address a wide variety of spaces under that sort of small room kind of category.
Correct.
Okay.
This was also peer reviewed, and we had input from SMPTE, just the Society for Motion Picture and Television Experts, and the AES, the Audio Engineering Society. So we wanted to make sure that we had checks and balances so that we weren't saying stuff that others will be like, oh, whoa, you guys are nuts. So we had 600 something comments on it during the review period. So I just want everybody to know like how it got created and who was involved in it. The other thing I want to make sure we understand is it's a recommended practice and it's not a standard. Okay. And there's two words that separate recommended practice and standard. A standard is you shall do it this way every single time, no matter what.
Right.
And a recommended practice is you should do it this way. And the reason why it's a recommended practice is because audio's difficult and all the rooms are different. We can't say thou shalt put a speaker here every single time, no matter what, exactly in this position, because that might not work for a lot of jobs. So it should be treated like a standard, but technically it is not a standard because we can't, there's a lot of things in here that require wiggle room and engineering, which is the whole point behind this.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Not every room is, is a square or a rectangle or whatever. And
Or
each,
an L.
or an L. And each thing comes with its own particular challenges. And so there has to be some sort of of leeway here and there. Gotcha.
There's also, customer requirements of, you can do everything as best as you can, except I must have this.
Oh,
and
those.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the customer's right.
Those pesky customers. I mean, what are they?
I know. I know. So I'll answer your question now, which was, what is it and why is it?
Mm-hmm.
What the goal is for an integrator or anyone providing an immersive audio system to give something tangible. So when I'm a customer and I want to buy something, I want to know, what am I buying? Mm-hmm. The integrator designer wants to know, what am I delivering? And that has never existed before. So this document has 4 levels of performance. And level 1 is likely the most controversial because we're saying if you don't meet level 1, we don't consider that system would do an adequate job of providing the minimum of the artistic intent that was intended when something was created. Okay. So level 1 is the minimum. Level 2 is a step up.
Okay.
Level 3 is meets or exceeds commercial cinema standards.
All right.
And then level 4 is cost no object, state of the art, sky's the limit.
Interesting. Okay.
And level 1 can be done with an AVR and bookshelf speakers. It doesn't mean it needs to be expensive. In fact, that's the other reason why we did this. Many people separated their systems by dollars, and that doesn't do anything. But, here's my most expensive system. Here's my least expensive. Well, how's that perform compared to this? Well, we have tangible metrics now, actually 21 parameters that can help define how it will perform. And but try to put that AVR and those bookshelf speakers in a 6,000 square foot room. It's not going to work. So that's the whole point.
Well, that was also going to be one of my, I guess, questions further down the line. But since you kind of alluded to it, it's like I can see where these recommendations would be absolutely crucial for some of the more involved in like higher dollar cinemas and demo rooms like we've seen at CD and stuff, like the Trinoff big rooms and stuff like that. And so this is my first thought is like, okay, well, so what does this mean to someone like me who's got like a basement home theater and AVR, a 7-channel system? I mean, what does it mean for me? And is it something I should follow or something that does anything for me?
We especially care about that. There are a lot of people that just chuck gear around and say, here's your immersive audio system. I hear things coming around from different places. There you go. We'd say this, we kind of tried to design this document for the 97%, which means people doing level 1 and level 2 systems. That's really what most integrators do. Some specialize in reference systems. And by the way, what is reference? Whenever anybody says, I have a reference system, we're like, well, what's that mean? Well, we define what reference is. But we really care about the most important, which is design. And please, on these level 1 systems, just design it. And then it's going to be a great experience. I'll let Erik chime in on that. But that's the goal. It's not for the high end. We want it to apply to everything, but we really want to bring the lower end up.
And that goal really, and we've talked a lot about that when we were working through the standard. It helps everyone. It helps the consumer. It helps the installer. It helps the manufacturers, and it all helps because as a consumer, you say, I want to build a home theater. Well, what is reference? What does it mean? Why is this quote, $100,000 and this guy's quote $50,000? What am I getting? And there's nothing to point to. You may have a beautiful room. It's stunning inside, but you're using an AVR receiver and some speakers that maybe don't fit the requirements. But you spent a lot of money. Somebody else may be saying, well, I'm giving you some cosmetics, but I'm giving you some acoustic performance, and you may have the exact same price. But as a consumer, you don't know the difference. Am Am I
Right.
hitting acoustic targets? Am I hitting design targets for cosmetics? Is there acoustic treatment? And this really lays out a path to saying, if you want to meet this requirement, quote A is level 1, quote 2 is level 3. That's a drastic difference. That's maybe why they cost different, or why are they the same price and somebody's achieving that with the same amount of dollars? That's a better value. As a manufacturer, it helps us to understand what requirements we need to have to make a great sounding system, from performance. Right. What's a designer looking for? And then as a designer, if you are the integrator, you need to know which products will actually get you there the first time. You can't redo that room. If you pick speakers that, are your favorite, but you soon find out don't meet the technical requirements of what you're trying to offer that customer, when the room's done, it's too late. You're stuck. Right. And you can't go back to this customer and saying, well, I designed it wrong. I didn't meet the requirements. Sorry.
You're not getting hired.
That doesn't work. So it really helps everyone in the whole chain understand what it takes to achieve a level of system. What's it cost? It helps, it helps everyone in the chain get what they really want.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, just looking through the index, it looks like you guys basically cover every kind of facet, from the hardware, but also the acoustics of the room, calibration, bass. Obviously, I mean, it's really comprehensive. I mean, it's very impressive for anyone who hasn't had a chance to look at it yet.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. Right. It's, you can buy, great loudspeakers and put them in a room. And, as a speaker manufacturer, I'll say that is the largest improvement you could ever make. But in a room, if it's not treated, you're not getting the most out of them, and you're not getting the best experience. And there's a lot of acoustic issues that aren't part of the room, and room correction doesn't fix those. Right. I got a great flat response in my room now, but that doesn't mean it's a great sounding room. And you can't have one without the other. So, the buildup of levels comprehensively really makes sense of, in order to achieve this, there are all these categories. They go hand in hand, and you can't achieve one without the other.
Yeah. And I should point out, Carlo, that we didn't invent new things here. Like we had Dolby Atmos and DTSX and RO3D and all those things in mind when we did this. And then we applied practical experience to what actually works. I'll give you a prime example. In Dolby, they would, like in Atmos, they would give you an exact angle. Let's say for front wides, must be between these many degrees, this many degrees. And a change that we made is we said it needs to be in the median angle between the left or right front and your first surround. So that's a simple example of how we looked at how this applies to doing audio in various shaped rooms and small rooms. And then we also did universal layouts, which we have a whole bunch of layout guidelines in here to suggestions on how to lay out a whole bunch of systems, even if you're consuming multiple type of formats.
So you're saying that level 1 would be the minimum standard for according to
the minimum we believe to preserve artistic intent. That's our whole goal here. Right. The whole goal is to experience something as it was intended. Okay. Whether it's music, movies, gaming, we don't care.
Okay. So then what would separate a level 1 from a level 2, the next step up, if I was going to say that?
So what happens is we have 21 parameters, and some parameters are not applicable to level 1. I think noise floor is one of those that might not be applicable to level 1, but level 2, 3, and 4, noise floor requirements tighten up, and they tighten up a lot between the reference level and then at the sky's the limit, level 4.
Level 4.
One of the things that we've always been trying to achieve, which is applicable in level 1, is when a seat is buried next to the back wall, or it's buried next to the side wall, because that person's experience is going to be dominated by a speaker that
there's a speaker to them.
They're glued to.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great basic things in here that we try to ensure didn't happen. which also separates a level. So the more space you have, let's say you have a room that you jammed 8 seats in,
Right.
but it really should have 4 seats. The 4 seats get you the level, provided everything else is happening. The 4 seats get you a reference room or maybe a level 2 room. But if you pop 8 seats in there, that performance goes down. So it's also to help the integrator when someone says, hey, I want 16 seats in my room. They're like, well, it's not really a good idea. I wouldn't recommend 16 seats. This gives them some weight for that.
That's a great comment there too, Walt, because the customer wants certain expectations and they are not acoustician. They are not a home theater designer. The standard helps guide them in saying, well, I can do this, but this is what you're going to sacrifice. Right. You're going to sacrifice seat to seat variation. And, this is part of the standard. This is what you're going to be missing from. I want to mix speakers to save costs. You're going to sacrifice timbre matching. There's a lot of ways to say, this is what you're paying for. This is what I can achieve. If we do that, we're going to sacrifice this. It's your choice. We can, but we now are deviating, and it helps people understand and give them an explanation of why they, is that really important to them? If it is, this is what they're going to sacrifice, and that's a design choice they can make. But it helps integrators, talk to the customer and give them proof of why these are important. So it raises expectations, and at the end, there's fewer surprises.
Gotcha. I have my home theater next to this room, and I wanted to look through the guidelines and go through them and say, okay, how do I plus out my theater to try to get it to meet the level 1 standards? I'm assuming that most of the stuff in there that you guys have laid out are things that I can do on my own without, say, having to hire an installer, until I say maybe get to something like room acoustics, where if I wanted to go that extra step of like, I need to figure out what the RT60 of my room or something like that is. I need to hire someone to do that or whatever.
So yes and no. You want to go first, Erik?
Yeah, I'll go first because as a manufacturer, we get hands-on with a lot of DIY guys who are very well educated. Right. There's the YouTube information. Some of these guys know way more than integrators and dealers do in some aspects. Not every dealer is the same. And so there's absolutely a lot of this stuff could be done by a DIY guy, depending on his level and his interest, right? Some people love doing it, and that's part of it. They may screw it up 12 times or 5 times, but they love doing it anyway. And that's part of the joy. So there's nothing here that can't be done. I would say, if you're willing, it is just laying out, hey, this is what you might need to achieve. Now, do we tell you exactly how to do it? You need this much of acoustic isolation. No.
Right.
I mean, this is what we expect at this level. You can go online, you could research, you could figure it out. It takes an acoustician really to experience. I would say a lot of experience to say, I'm going to achieve a level 4 or even level 3. Level 3 is really difficult on its own.
It sounds like it, yeah.
1 and 2 is more of that. Yeah, if I'm a strong DIY guy, I can do that. But there's no level that's unhinged. And, you can do any of these. And if there may be some things that, I'm, I don't want to touch the walls. Yeah, there's some key hints in here of what I might want to do, what I want to achieve. I can get REW. I can use a U-mic. I can do some measurements, and you'll probably learn a long ways from what you are compared to one of these standards or these levels. Gotcha. Because even by the time you get to level 2, there's some acoustic treatment that's needed. These are some things you're going to have to do to try and meet those levels. Right. But yeah, Carlo, could you do a level 2? I guarantee you would. You could learn to figure it out and do it. It depends on how mechanical you are.
Your faith in my abilities is much deeper than mine. So let me just get there.
But there's ways to learn. There's online resources. There's a way. But is an integrator more suited to absolutely spend your dollars and get there the first time? Absolutely.
Erik has missed one important thing, which I know he's all about. You will need data on your products at some point. So you will need to know, especially level 3, and it does definitely start to come into play in level 2. Level 1, there's a lot more room in there, but you need to know how loud will a speaker play at your reference seating position, and then there's we use RSP, reference seating position, because we're also doing this for video right now. So if we said reference listening position, then we'd need a reference viewing position. So we decided just to use RSP. But you also need to know, what's the dispersion characteristics of this speaker? Is it going to hit all my intended seats, or isn't it? Does it really bounce off the ceiling and the floor, or is it more directed to the area that I need it to be? So as you get higher up in these levels, we care a lot about those things. And it's just not a matter of getting your product and aiming it. You will need to know, do I know if it's going to cover that area? Do I know if it's so? In each one of the levels, we have a one of the parameters is how loud it's going to be at the reference seating position. So am I going to be able to achieve those levels? The reference level 3 is 105, but we're way below that on levels 1 and 2.
Right.
And I think the off-axis performance, as Walt was mentioning, is if I can't put my back surround speaker in exactly this position, there's a door in the way. If I was going to follow this, the best recommended practice to the T, there's a door there. And I says, I absolutely can't put a speaker there. I need to move it 1 foot to the right. Okay. I'm a little bit more off axis. Well, what's the frequency response to the speaker there? I don't know, unless I have data.
Right.
And so we need that data. And, Perlisson as an engineering based company, we believe in, as much as possible. There's lots of little black art things about how good a speaker sounds, but there's a large margin of it that is based on good measurements, good understanding, good design, and sharing that data. And that's really what we're about, showing heat plots and off-axis performance, so that as an installer or a consumer, I can figure out, I'm still okay with seat-to-seat variation if I move the speaker 1 foot to the right or 2 feet to the right, whatever the case may be. I should cover these seats well. And, those are the kind of things that are really, really important. How loud is it going to get? Is it going to distort at that level? Just because I can get that loud doesn't mean it's clean.
Right.
So that's a dynamic range aspect. And then there's, the off-axis response.
Gotcha.
And then a lot of times there's, I don't need to add additional reflections in the room. That's bad. That means I need more acoustic treatment. Some technologies are better at that than others.
Right.
Yeah, you can say in this type of job, it's all glass everywhere. There's no acoustic treatment.
Good Lord!
I can do the customers fix it. Maybe I'd choose a different design for this one. This design versus that one.
Right.
No, you know what, Eric? I did just see at CES show a clear absorber that was made out of plexiglass. So they're starting to get clever with these products.
I've seen a lot of that exactly with metamaterials, and actually there's various tuned cavities. When I worked at Knowles Electronics, we were actually doing some of that kind of stuff in microacoustics, where you could actually absorb really long wavelength stuff by micropaths and some.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was.
Cavities. It's multiple different size tuned cavities.
That term metamaterials I've been hearing so much about lately.
Yeah, absorb equally at different frequencies. So
it sounds like lasers. Or something.
I know, freaking lasers.
We need more sharks in the industry.
There we go. Here we go. But actually, and to your point, in terms of data and looking at it from the manufacturer's perspective, I mean, I know, Erik, you guys at Perlisson are like fantastic about putting the data out there of what your products can achieve and what they're designed to achieve and all that good stuff. I know there's other companies too, like Ascendo, who's out there who does very similar stuff. Obviously, these are higher end companies. What's the response been from your more sort of mainline or mainstream companies to RP22? I mean, have they been excited about it, or do you think it's going to encourage them to kind of, put out more data about what their stuff can do and and perhaps improve it to meet those requirements and those sorts of things?
Yeah, I should probably take that one. Yes. We have a lot of manufacturers on board now. Some were excited about it. Some were not excited about it, but now that they've seen the response of this and they've gotten to understand it, they're now getting excited about it. There are others, of course, that are still pushing back, need more information, want to talk some more, get to understand it some more. I also want to point out that a lot of these things also require more testing. Testing takes time and testing costs money. Right. So you don't need to do it for all your SKUs. You need to do it for the SKUs that you care about.
Right, of course.
And then we are just as a little future look, one of our other efforts we're working on right now is called Performance Facts. And that is an effort where we have defined, we're just about done with a first run of what we think we need. This is to ask a manufacturer, we need the following data about a speaker and we need the following data about an amplifier so we can effectively design with it. That one will probably get more pushback to than RP22 because that'll be a complete list of, can you please provide us these things? Because we think we need them. So we'll be testing the waters with that at ISC, going over those with manufacturers.
That'll be interesting. That'll be very interesting.
But I think, from our perspective is, listen, we got these amazing tools, but a lot of these tools, there's nothing that restricts a manufacturer from having the capabilities to do this. They got a microphone, and a handmade rig, which is how we used to do it. Anyone can do Polar responses. Anybody can do, CTA 2034. Anybody, these are standards that it doesn't take $1 million in test equipment, a few $1,000s at max. So any manufacturer can do these. And yes, it takes time, it takes effort, and time takes money is money to make those happen. But there's no, DIY guys do some of these tests and measurement. This is not, difficult. Products, not very many products show well though. And I think that's where some manufacturers may push back, but that's their design choice, not mine. So.
And Carlo, just to be clear on this, a lot in the commercial world, you always got this data or most all this data on a product. There's a product made by a very famous company that's been around for a long, long time where they have the same SKU in two channels. They have it in a residential channel and they have it in the commercial channel. On the commercial channel, it's got like a 12-page data sheet on it. On the residential panel, it's got 4 lines of data. And that's just what the residential channel never demanded it. They probably didn't really need it.
Yeah,
right.
And now we've identified, look, we're applying these products to engineered design systems. So if we're going to actually engineer, then we need to have the data so we can engineer. So it's not necessarily the fault of a lot of people. It's just the way the residential product channel went, and it's just it meets a need.
Gotcha. One thing I was curious about is would these recommended practices, besides like a home theater environment or home listening environment, would they be applicable to, say, a recording studio or like a content creation space or whatever as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is about just trying to preserve artistic intent, however that needs to happen. Eric can chime in more on this. A recording studio will probably have the most stringent noise floor and acoustics requearments.
You would hope. Yeah.
But if you were going to do a home studio and had some space, and a lot of these design aspects would absolutely apply. There's a lot of information online too that it is available. So even though recommended practice doesn't describe how exactly to achieve that, this is what we expect. There's lots of resources online to even figure it out. How do I design a great recording studio? How do I design a great media room? A lot of these are media rooms, right? These work for a room it's a living space. It is not a walled off dark home theater.
It's not an anechoic chamber or whatever.
This is a space that I use. It's got, it's open to the kitchen, it's open to the whatever, and it's a living space, but I still watch my movies and enjoy my media here, and maybe I play games. This applies to that room too. how do I get the best of what I have in there? How do I get acoustic treatment in this room? How do I make something, maybe it still looks beautiful, but is a living room? And, that's probably a large percentage of real applications as well.
I'm really glad Erik said that, because that's really what level 1 is targeted towards.
Yeah.
We know a lot of systems go in living rooms and family rooms. So you might add a drape, might move some chairs around to help you with your acoustics. And we also allow for up-firing speakers. They don't have to be discrete speakers mounted in the ceiling, or, we're trying to make these as relaxed as possible, especially level 1, because that's real world. We just want it to be done the best it can be done.
Right. Well, you mentioned you had that that circle image or whatever. I was wondering if we could show that on the screen.
Absolutely.
And kind of talk
it's
about
a great image to really show the basis of why are we doing this? So,
is this large enough?
Yeah. That's good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is one of the things we figured out early on. We needed keep ourselves grounded as we talked about how are we going to quantify a level 1 over a level 2, let's say. This is how, these are kind of the 3 main tenets that we decided were quite important: spatial resolution, timbre, and dynamics. And then around those are the other things that we have as part of our parameters: audience coverage. So are all the seats covered? Dialogue clarity, that plays in the noise floor, dispersion patterns of speakers, positioning, tonal balance. You don't want to have 5 different kinds of speakers from 3 different kinds of manufacturers in a room, because as things pan around, that's going to cause a problem.
Right.
Sound isolation, bass impact, and dynamic range. That's all about your power and how your room is made, and your acoustic treatments and your power, knowing the efficiency of your speakers and their capability. And then spatial resolution, immersion and development, sound movement, and localization accuracy. That is big time important for the preservation of artistic intent. So when they want something to hover around your head and go off to the right and go off to the left and end up in the rear, it does that. And level 1 will do that okay. Level 4 will do that like it's uncanny. And level 3 will do that like it was intended by the creative artists. Level 4 would just do it to the nth degree.
Gotcha.
But to be even higher resolution.
Gotcha.
That's basically it. So we use that to kind of guide us in a lot of the things that we did in the document.
Very cool. It's like the immersive audio design color wheel, basically. Very neat.
Yeah, it's our wheel of audio fortune.
Where's Vanna? Spin the wheel, please.
All right.
Here you go. Oh man.
Oh, and the other important thing about that wheel is we fully realize that systems, video, audio, whatever it is always a series of compromises. You're always you got an issue with your space, you have an issue with the designer. Somebody wants a glass table in there, or they want all the walls red, or, whatever it is. Sometimes when you maximize one area, you might diminish another area because they're all related, and you just need to, figure out what's the most important for that particular system or client you're working for. And it's always a series of compromises, but this is a nice way to have a holistic look at everything that we believe is important.
Yeah, it's just like, a really good one is, there's on the wheel, there's immersiveness. Well, you really wouldn't expect that sound isolation would be a major contributor to that. But if you hear your refrigerator humming in the background, that takes you out of the experience.
Right.
Or a projector above your head.
Or you got a bar in the back of your home theater and it's humming from the refrigerator, whatever else is in there. Those take away from the experience and take you out of that experience. So, from the video, the lighting, it's not just about sound all the time. Acoustic treatment, it's everything. So comprehensive.
Well, it's like you're saying, everything's like interrelated, and then it's about achieving that ultimate balance to get you the experience that you want, right?
Yeah. I can get really loud, but if it's distorted, did that do me any good? No.
No, you're not going to want to sit there again.
Yeah, exactly. You lost it. You go. The first thing you go is the loudspeaker sucks. And you're no longer thinking about the movie, or you enjoyed it.
And that's one of the things that we wanted to avoid. Like if somebody misspec, so they underpower a speaker, or a speaker is driven into compression, then not only is it a bad experience for the end user, but they might also say this brand stinks or that speaker stinks. Well, no, actually not. It was just misused. So we want to make sure that if it's all done right, then everybody wins. That's basically.
Well, and I get it. This is the number one question for listen is, okay, can I mix brand, even product levels? I want to use all per listen, but can I mix this? And yeah, you can, if that's the sacrifice you want to make, but you're going to sacrifice timbre matching. You're also going to sacrifice that, is it going to reach the same output capabilities at the same time? How much amplifier power is needed? And we have a few customers saying, well, I just want a more affordable in ceiling speaker. And I've had quite a few people come back to me of like, okay, you just spent money on a Ferrari and you put go-kart tires on it. So you spent a ton of money on your system and you sacrificed in this one single area and you ruined your whole performance. That's not getting what you paid for.
Right.
That's ruining everything. And it's just because of one simple sacrifice. So, make sure that you're not going to skimp in the wrong areas. If you're going to skimp somewhere else, make sure it's not a heavy impact to what you really value. If you value sound quality, you're going to listen to it loud, make sure it performs when it's loud. And so, don't buy a Ferrari and put go-kart tires on it. Waste of an investment.
Yeah, bad news. You heard it first here, folks.
Yep, exactly.
Man. Guys, this is great. I mean, this has been a ton of information, and I think you guys have touched on a lot of the elements about this that make it really, that spell out why it's really special and important. Is there sort of now that these practices are out, is there sort of like a next sort of step or next phase, or it's just basically to see how how widely accepted they've become, and that sort of thing? Or are there updates coming at all, or things or additions being worked on?
So right now it is go out and preach. That's with manufacturers, buying groups, distributors. We're having a lot of success with that. We're also doing 2-day workshops, and we'll be scheduling some around the U.S. We've done a bunch outside the U.S. Where you work through some of these parameters. You actually get a piece of paper and a pencil, and you're like, okay, you pick what level room you're going to design, and here's the products, and go ahead and let's figure out, will this speaker play this loud here? And they have various exercises, which all end up being, everyone that goes through every class has been sold out, and everyone that goes through the class, it's opened their eyes, and even for seasoned people. So there's that aspect to it. We'll be doing more education things and more marketing things. We will revise this within 5 years. There's a lot happening in bass that we didn't put in here yet because it's still kind of new.
Right.
And there's a lot happening with people figuring out how they're going to handle the center channel speaker for large emissive displays. Are they going to reflect it? Are they going to beam steer it? People are starting to work on solutions, but it's not solid. I should mention that this particular recommended practice is actually a revision of CEB 22, which was done 12 years ago. And that was a home theater audio recommended practice. But that was done when Atmos was just about to be released, but nobody had any solid information on it. So that was the impetus to get this thing out now and revised in a big way, and then also do levels, because immersive audio came around when we didn't have it. Right. So this will be a living, breathing document. Next stage, what you're going to hear from us is that performance facts. And then you're going to hear RP23, which is the immersive video design recommend practice, which is the same thing, but for video.
Right, yeah, gotcha.
And then you're going to see a measurement, which is RP32. How everybody we found measures audio systems completely differently. So this is going to be recommended practice on how to measure, which we think that will complete the whole cycle.
Excellent. So, all right. Yeah, that's very cool.
I should point out that anyone can join these standards calls if they're a CTA or CDM member. We're not a closed group. And this is free to everyone as well. So we'll provide you that QR code. So
Very neat.
download.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have the QR code available on either on the video or on the post on the site that hosts the video, that anyone can scan and download these RP22 and
Yep.
read and enjoy it over a fine wine or something like that. And make the best out of it. So yeah, no, this is great. This is awesome. Yeah, guys, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. The time you've taken to kind of walk me through this and explain to our readers. So,
Yep.
guys,
Thanks.
thank you very much for your time, and
Thank you.
all the best.
Thanks,
Yes,
Carl.
same.
You
Thank
bet.
you.